About the Code. Good governance in charities is fundamental to their success. A charity is best placed to achieve its ambitions and aims if it has effective governance and the right leadership structures. Skilled and capable trustees will help a charity attract resources and put them to the best use. Good governance enables and supports a charity's compliance with relevant legislation and regulation. It also promotes attitudes and a culture where everything works towards fulfilling the charity's vision. It is the aim of this code to help charities and their trustees develop these high standards of governance. As a sector, we owe it to our beneficiaries, stakeholders, and supporters to demonstrate exemplary leadership and governance. This code is a practical tool to help trustees achieve this. The code is not a legal or regulatory requirement. It draws upon, but is fundamentally different to, the Charity Commission's guidance. Instead, the code sets out the principles and recommended practice for good governance and is deliberately aspirational. Some elements of the code will be a stretch for many charities to achieve. This is intentional. We want the code to be a tool for continuous improvement towards the highest standards. This code has been developed by a steering group with the help of over 200 charities, individuals, and related organizations. We hope you find it useful in helping your charity to make an even bigger difference. Using the code. Who is the code for? This code is intended for use by charities registered in England and Wales. Much of it will also apply to other not-for-profit organisations that deliver a public or community benefit, and those with a social purpose. Organisations or subsectors may find it helpful to adapt the code to reflect their context. The code's principles, rationale, and outcomes are universal and apply equally to all charities, whatever their size or activities. How it works. This code is designed as a tool to support continuous improvement. Charity boards that are using this code effectively will regularly revisit and reflect on the code's principles. Compliance with the law is an integral part of good governance. This code does not attempt to set out all the legal requirements that apply to charities and charity trustees, but it is based on a foundation of trustees' basic legal and regulatory responsibilities. The 7 code principles build on the assumption that charities are already meeting this foundation. The code sets out principles and recommended practice. Each principle in the code has a brief description, a rationale, the reason why it is important, key outcomes, what you would expect to see if the principles were adopted, and recommended practice, what a charity might do to implement the principle. Apply or explain. We anticipate that how a charity uses the code is something which will develop and mature, particularly where the charity is growing and changing. Given this, some of the recommended practice may not be appropriate for a particular charity to follow initially, but it may become so in the future. It is important that trustees discuss the code's principles and recommended practice and make well-considered decisions about how these should be applied in their charity. The charity should explain the approach it takes to applying the code so it is transparent to anyone interested in its work. We call this approach apply or explain. All trustees are encouraged to meet the principles and outcomes of the code by either applying the recommended practice or explaining what they have done instead or why they have not applied it. We have not used the phrase comply or explain, which is used by some other governance codes, because meeting all the recommended practice in this code is not a regulatory requirement. Charities that adopt the code are encouraged to publish a brief statement in their annual report explaining their use of the code. We anticipate that this statement will be a short narrative rather than a lengthy audit of policies and procedures. The foundation, the trustee role and charity context. It is the code's starting point that all trustees are committed to their charity's cause and have joined its board because they want to help the charity deliver its purpose most effectively for public benefit. They recognize that meeting their charity's stated public benefit is an ongoing requirement. They understand their roles and legal responsibilities and in particular have read and understand the Charity Commission's guidance, the Essential Trustee. They have also read and understand their charity's governing document, are committed to good governance, and want to contribute to their charity's continued improvement. The principles. There are 7 principles which make up this code: organizational purpose, leadership, integrity, decision-making and risk control, board effectiveness, diversity, and openness and accountability. These 7 principles build on the assumption that a charity is meeting its legal and regulatory responsibilities as a foundation. Organizational purpose. The board is clear about the charity's aims and ensures that these are being delivered effectively and sustainably. Leadership. Every charity is led by an effective board that provides strategic leadership in line with the charity's aims and values. Integrity. The board acts with integrity, adopting values and creating a culture which help achieve the organization's charitable purposes. The board is aware of the importance of the public's confidence and trust in charities, and trustees undertake their duties accordingly. Decision-making, risk, and control. The board makes sure that its decision-making processes are informed, rigorous, and timely, and that effective delegation, control, and risk assessment and management systems are set up and monitored. Board effectiveness. The board works as an effective team, using the appropriate balance of skills, experience, backgrounds, and knowledge to make informed decisions. Diversity. The board's approach to diversity supports its effectiveness, leadership, and decision-making. Openness and accountability. The board leads the organization in being transparent and accountable. The charity is open in its work unless there's a good reason for it not to be.